But yeah, I'll just repeat that.
Okay, sure.
I guess the idea now is that the technology is not at a point where it's not at a break point where the amount you're putting into it you're getting more back from, but as the technology gets more efficient, it seems that there would be a breaking point where you now only need to invest X amount of resources to get Y amount of gain.
Yeah. Not just that. It's gonna have a sort of viral growth pattern if it gets popular at all, because self-sustainability is out there. You know, it's just not catching on. And I think the difference between it being there and it actually catching on to the point where everybody has the option is abundance of resources, is literally scarcity versus not scarcity. Post-scarcity is a gross oversimplification because this is not an instant matter materializer. But, you know, if you can round it off to say that air is not scarce at this at this point in time. You can round it off to say that water, not necessarily clean water, but water isn't scarce. You used to, but you can't anymore round it off to say that land isn't scarce.
Wind.
Land.
Yeah. Or wind too, like.
Or yeah. But I'm.
Not really, because it has been the case for a long time that you go places, you can walk.
Yeah.
Start walking. You go further and further, and you don't find any place that hasn't been touched yet, that doesn't have people in it.
Yeah.
And that's been the case for millennia. If you want land, you have to dispossess the prior owners.
Okay, so apparently land has always been scarce. Or, I'm rounding off again. Always. But I think to try to get back to your original question, I think the ideal situation is where, let's say you have this guy who has a self-sustaining house. He has tech, right? He doesn't need to worry about, let's say he's at the point where he doesn't need to worry about feeding himself anymore. And let's say that he paid out of pocket for all the stuff he had. All the stuff he set up, he spent tens of thousands of dollars to get hundreds of thousands of dollars, I don't know. Depends on the place, depends on the setup. But the point is he's set for life. For some reason, that particular engineer isn't interested in dedicating the rest of his life to helping other people have the same stuff. Why is that? Because he'd have to be there on location the whole time. Or if not so, let's say he posts a YouTube video on how to do it. And he said, and then the one caveat, the reason why you close out this tab that's 20 minutes long when it gets to 3 minutes, is because he said, I made this for $10,000. That's why you don't listen anymore. You read a summary, or you look at a picture that's a summary, and then you go on with your day. I think the main reason that it's important to develop machines that are made of abundant resources is so that it's attractive to people who don't want to spend money for it, because this one guy, this engineer who paid all that money to set it up so that he doesn't have to get a paying job anymore, I guess he's tired, and he doesn't want to. First off, he doesn't even have a job anymore, assuming, and he doesn't want to spend another set of $10,000-$20,000 to help one more person. But if there were a system where you could go online and out of this 20-minute summary, in the first minute he said, I did this for free, a lot more people would be interested. And how did he do it for free? He made it out of stuff in his backyard. He made machines that could build machines out of, let's say, out of some ceramics like silicon carbide, or is carbon nitride a thing? No, that's boron carbide and boron nitride. And no, boron's actually pretty rare in the universe, not just on Earth. Silicon, though, is half of sand. So I was looking into silicon carbide as a use in ceramics. Did that sort of answer your question, or I'm sure there are parts of your question that are sort of left over.
Yeah. Well, I understand there's probably in addition to like there are technologies on the market. You can go to Radio Shack and buy a solar panel. But the precise schematics of that particular solar panel are likely patented by some company. You couldn't build that exact same one. So there's the idea. I guess you could say that we're approaching more quickly an age of information post-scarcity.
Yeah.
Since we have the internet, information can be shared to the extent that as long as you have the technology, like a phone or a computer or something to share and hold the information, that can be shared, like compared to when we used to have to use pen and paper and print materials for information sharing. But
sorry, go ahead.
so like keeping that in mind, I guess the idea is if you reach a true post-scarcity of one type of resource, whether it's free energy or real free information, that like one type of post-scarcity will enable other types of technologies and like ideas. And
going back to that patent thing, though, this is sort of has to go full circle, sort of a chicken and the egg deal, and it's a question of where you get it started. But in a sort of in the ideal outcome, the guy who developed the schematic, or I should say, the guy who owns the schematic, would have no reason, I think, and I think this might be a little bit too idealistic. But I'm going to say it anyway. He'd have no reason to have a patent. When you are, I think, when there are going to be some stubborn people. There are going to be some people who try to pass laws that enforce scarcity, and there's going to be some people who like the idea of making money and trading. But I think when you have enough people who develop things and don't, and almost literally, or at least for the most part, don't need money anymore, there wouldn't be much of a desire to hide information. Like if everybody were capable of feeding themselves, and I were running McDonald's, I would post a recipe online. So yeah, once this idea gets viral, I think hand in hand with it goes open source information. I sort of have this vision of the future where people become bored with their time. They're tired of watching movies or funny videos because they have so much free time now, and then everybody, maybe not everybody, but a considerably larger portion of the population become tinkerers and amateur engineers, and they post ideas online on how to improve a build, and it would all be free because nobody would need to hide information. You only need to hide information if you're making money off of it, and you only need to make money off of it if you can't feed yourself. I think that's about it. Addie?